The masculine does not need to assert itself that I'm masculine. They don't even need to do that. It's carried, it's embodied, it's felt. It doesn't have to say a word. No, right? The feminine, likewise. And when they recognize that in each other, things just fall into place.
All right. Today we have our first female in the studio, the divine feminine energy. Of course, it's something to celebrate, to be proud of. Just dilute the masculine energy that's controlling the studio. Every time it's a guy. Anyway, the beloved, the goddess. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I am Lerato, also known as Mmadinokana, last name Mileng, and I'm a lot of things. I'm a creative, I'm an entrepreneur, but at the current moment, this version of myself in this space and time is an integrative healing specialist. I work with holistic wellness and the divine feminine energy.
All right, explain a little bit on the divine healing part.
The integrative healing.
Yeah.
Okay. So integrative healing is mostly about working with mind, body, and spirit. It's a holistic way or a holistic approach for healing. For me personally, I blend various modalities of wellness or approaching wellness and healing from the various trainings, initiations, studies that I've gone through the past 10 years. The main grounding practice, I would say, is body wisdom, where we deliberately work with the body to achieve wellness, to achieve healing, to achieve connecting with our inner selves, connecting with our spirit, healing emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and also achieve spiritual growth. So these practices, what they typically look like would be, firstly, movement. We work with movement to engage the body, to let the body guide us through the process of healing, because the body always knows. And many school of thoughts or teachings or practices tells us to disregard the body, but the body is the main temple that really we carry, that is physical, that is part of us, that we need to make sure that we take care of, and also listen to it to allow us to guide us to our healing, our wholeness, our wellness. So we start off by working with movement, which is your yoga, your dance, sacred dance, not just any other dance in a meditative approach. And above that, we also do sacred touch, what I call sacred touch. It's an intuitive way of touch in a form of massage, where we work with energy, or energy work, moving the energy in your body, helping you to release tension, helping you to rest, restore, relax through massage. What else? There's also an element of sound healing, where we use the element of vibration to help us reset our nervous system to come to a point where we achieve wellness. And there's also, I'm also a healer, an initiated traditional healer, so there's also an element of herbs or medicine, and some form of rituals, I would say, to help one achieve a state of holistic wellness or wholeness. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole lot of processes, approaches, views, but in a nutshell, it's just a collective ways or modalities of helping one to achieve wholeness holistically, mind, body, and spirit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a handful. A journey.
Yeah, it is.
A long distance one at it.
I'm telling you.
When did it begin? And how do you respond to all of these elements over time?
Sure, it began years ago. It has always been there. It's just a matter of now when I started actively following, the path consciously. I would say it's over 10 years ago. But the calling has always been there with me ever since from childhood, if I can remember. Well, but I'm not going to mention a specific year because numbers and time is not really my thing. But over 10 years ago, like most people, I found myself in an abyss, when I lost everything, and everything was just silenced. Lost my job, lost my income, lost everything. But that position allowed me to now start hearing the calling very loudly, very vividly. And I made a vow with myself to now follow this thing that I'm hearing, to follow this voice, its direction, where it's leading me. And I didn't understand what it was then, but in following it, that's when I came across the path or the understanding of divine femininity. And in connecting with that, and also the gift of writing became a very powerful tool for me in my journey of self-discovery, healing, wellness, and really following the calling. So in following that, I eventually ended here. It's years of trial and error, years of learning, confusion. Of course.
Maturing.
Like deep pain, because now you have surrendered to this thing and everything is just
new.
It's new, it's heightened, you feel things deeply, you connect with things in a way that is not usual, or you never would be before, if I'm making sense. So, I'll leave it there.
All right. I didn't want this to be more of a question-answer situation. I wanted us to have like an open conversation, more like it, pour into me, I pour into you kind of a thing. But I have questions which viewers would want to know.
Okay.
By the way, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. I don't know if I greeted you guys, but Dumela. The feminine energy. What is feminine energy, and where does it exist? What is its place, its function? Why do we need it? And how is it supplied? How is it, the source of it?
That's so many questions in one. But I'll start in giving you a picture of what feminine energy is. Allow me to do something different instead of explaining what feminine energy is, because I feel and believe words cannot fully, draw a clear picture or articulate what feminine energy is, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to see it for yourself. Great. Now, I invite you to close your eyes. right? Relax your mind, your body. Relax yourself wholly. And then take a deep breath through your nose and out through your mouth. Great. I invite you to take a journey with your imagination into a beautiful forest, right? A beautiful green forest, very lush, trees, plants. There's a beautiful river flowing there. Feel the sensation of the environment you are in. Allow yourself to feel it and marvel. Sit there and just witness the beauty. Feel the wind, the breeze brushing on your skin. Now I invite you to imagine that you have a seed on your right hand, a small tiny seed, right? And then beneath you is the earth, the ground, the soil. Now with your left hand, dig a tiny hole on the ground, on the soil. And then put that seed on your right hand on the ground. And then cover it nicely. That's receptivity. The earth will receive that seed that you just deposited. Now allow yourself to go on a time lapse. Now you are in the very same space, in a time zone where now that seed, the magic in the earth has taken place, gestation has taken place. Now that seed is now piercing through the soil as a beautiful plant, germination, birth, right? See it growing right in front of your eyes into a beautiful tree that is bearing fruits, multiplication, right? That was once a tiny little seed is now a beautiful big plant that is bearing fruits, right? And people can, animals, the species in that beautiful forest can now feed from it, right? Nurturing, right? Marvel on that. Breathe it in, take it in. Now take one last deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
All right, I forgot to tell you hypnosis is not welcome here.
It's not hypnosis. I just took you to another space and time.
Yes. Now,
before we go,
yeah,
allow me to ask you a question. With what you have seen, what would you say you have seen?
Calm, life, peace, purity,
serenity.
Now that is what you would say that's femininity, the feminine energy.
100%.
I want us to come to a modern day.
Okay. Well, that is the basis of what femininity is. What you call the modern day is just a reflection of that. We are talking about it in a sense now where there is no outside the conditioning, outside the influence. That is divine femininity, its natural sense. And a woman who is I'm going to use the aspect of a woman, because in traditional sense, the woman is the representative of the feminine energy, right? So when a woman is connected to her divine feminine energy, that's the state that she is. You know, what you have seen, that's what she reflects. We are not separate from nature. We are not different from nature.
All right. Do you get angry?
I do.
What do you do with that anger?
Many things. It depends on the degree of it, right? So I'm going to play around with nature a lot. Right. So in typical sense, coming back to myself, when I'm angry, I regulate. You know, I breathe. I dance. Depends. But there are times when the anger calls for me now to be a storm, right? To be a tide and consume whatever that is in front of me. And it's welcome. It's divine. It's part of divine femininity, or just being divine as a whole. It's balance.
What does it respond to?
In what sense?
Everything else, the yin and the yang, everything else in nature responds to something. Everything else in existence responds to something.
Okay.
What does it respond to? Is it responding to masculinity? And if so, are there any limitations, limits? And if so, what are those?
Are you asking what the anger is in response to?
No, not the anger, the feminine energy itself. And how does it recognize its balance?
I'm not sure if I understand your question, but looking at it in alignment with the masculine energy, it's not a matter of response, it's a matter of relation, it's a matter of coordination, right? The feminine energy in its essence, it's meant to be in balance or work in balance in collaboration with the masculine energy, right? Am I answering you? Am I going the direction that you...
Yes.
Okay. It's in relation to the masculine energy. And so yeah, its function generally, or its existence is in relations with the masculine energy. The both cannot exist without each other, right? And we have what we call the divine marriage of the two,
Yeah.
right? Within each individual and externally as well. So in essence, its function is just to work in collaboration with the masculine energy. And how that looks like is it's in an instance where the feminine understands and is grounded its traits, its potential, its capability, and carries out that in a way that, how do I put it? In a way that it serves the whole. For instance, in a typical household environment, how the feminine energy functions. I have mentioned when I took you to a place, that beautiful place, to witness the feminine energy. Its main traits is receptiveness, right? So it's receptive in nature, even anatomically. Even in anatomy, it's designed to be receptive, biologically that way. For instance, the seed that you planted on the ground, take it now in physical masculine and feminine dynamics, where the masculine would actually, in the divine union, would penetrate and deposit a seed in the womb of a woman or a feminine. And from from there, the magic happens within the womb. Gestation happened. We mentioned gestation in that beautiful picture that I showed you. We mentioned gestation, and that's where creation takes place, right? And from there, birth takes place, right? And because of that sacred duty or responsibility or divine design, right? A woman or a feminine is by right nurturing. You have to be nurturing to be able to carry a life in your womb, in your body, and give birth to it. And when you give birth to it, of course, the responsibility lies to you, on you, naturally, to nurture it. You know, that's the dynamic, one of the dynamics. And we've mentioned, what else? Speaking about receptiveness, the same applies generic. You know, it's not just about childbearing. In a household, typically, the man or the masculine would bring in what the Western would say, the bacon, and the woman or the feminine now takes the very same blueprint, the bacon, multiplies it, or, you know, the process of now turning that into a meal, multiplies it and nourishes the entire family. It's a natural blueprint, you know, that the divine feminine carries holistically, right? And within that, there is an element of, we've mentioned nurturing, right? By right, by design, we are, as women, the most nurturing. What am I leaving behind that we've seen in that beautiful picture? And it's also part of being divine feminine to track your thoughts and pause.
I think we'll get to it when it comes to you. You've said something very important, maybe to me, when you spoke about mothering.
Yeah.
What I've heard, I don't know if that's what you meant, but what I've heard is that mothering is not birth giving.
Of course.
Expand a little bit on that.
It's not exclusive to, you know, giving birth. Let's take a step back. Even one of the main traits, gestation, that blueprint that I just mentioned, is not exclusive to childbearing. It's energetic, it's spiritual, it can be used in what may be called metaphoric, you know. So women give birth to a lot of things without it necessarily being a baby, right? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then therefore we move on to your question, mothering. You don't need to give birth to a child to be a mother. You know, by design, that's the typical, but you find a lot of women who have mothered children that they didn't necessarily give birth to. In traditional sense, motherhood is a rite of passage that is actively enabled when you give birth. But some can be initiated into that space by circumstances, not necessarily birth, right? And that's where you find mothers or women who are mothering children, or even you can mother. Mothering is not exclusive to just children. Some actions, you know, mentoring young people and empowering people, you end up, you know, being what is called or what comes across as mother of a nation without necessarily not giving birth to your own children. One of my mentors, a very wonderful woman, is a mother, right? By energetically, she embodies that energy naturally, but has never given birth to their own child, but has so many children, So just in essence, it's not just exclusive to the one who carried and delivered a baby.
All right. Are women dangerous?
Sure.
How?
In so many ways. What an interesting topic. Well, let's talk about the anger that you mentioned. Women are very emotional beings, right? They carry a lot of emotion and feel emotions deeply, all right? And wherever there's emotion, deep emotions, I tend to worry, because emotion, just like energy in motion, are the driving force to shifting energy. If I'm making sense, great. That the driving force of shifting energy, right? So a woman can hurt you without lifting a finger. There's this saying that
hell has no fury.
Then a woman's gone. Yeah. So when a woman is really in that peak of emotion and have a thorn to pick with you? Yeah. So you must worry. I personally avoid those kind of emotions because I know that.
I usually say a woman's love can give life and a woman's life can end it.
Yeah. Women are they are creators and they are both creators. They can be creative and destructive in the same breath. The level of the degree is...
What influences them?
Everything. Circumstances, but it's in our nature. We gifted with the ability to really shift energies, consciously or unconsciously. So there's what they call divine destruction or divine anger. There's that anger and destruction, or rather destruction, that is meant to cleanse. It looks destructive from the outside, but its main purpose is to cleanse.
Is to cleanse.
Right? There's that element. And there is the element of just being, of a woman just being, operating in their low vibrational state, where they're just destructive for no cause, even on self. Right? Yeah, of course. Trauma-informed, trauma-inspired. There's
spirit trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma, mental trauma.
Any of those. Any, or even all sometimes. Right? So those are very dangerous women. Even they are a danger to themselves, especially those who are unconscious about their state of being and what their actions mean, and what they can do or what results they can bring. Those are the dangerous ones. And then there are the conscious ones that know that I have this ability. We have the magic of, or the ability to just enchant, right? And many are aware of it, and many use it in a
hypnotic ways.
Yeah, in a very destructive way, to distract others, and so on. The final line here is the intention, right? In some instances, it happens unintentionally. But some instances, there is intention to distract, to be destructive, to enchant in a not so positive way, right? It's a gift that we have, and at some point, we needed to use it to defend ourselves. Now I'm speaking from an ancestral memory.
Yeah, but here's the thing: can a woman do something for you in total absence of self-benefit of some sort?
Of course.
How often? Or how
all the time. It is just that we are living in a very chaotic...
Especially the conscious ones.
Yeah.
Because I think in that level of consciousness, it's basically just the level of being aware and awareness. And when you are aware, there's a lot of... You begin to understand the psychology of things around you and people around you. So whatever you do, it's no longer just out of impulse or...
Yeah.
It's calculated, it's well thought of, and the application is on another level. What's the level of manipulation in there?
Well, the level of manipulation. So let me just clarify that. The type of woman you're talking about understands clearly the karmic effects of their action.
Yeah, she also understands the power of bending the universe to her will.
Yeah, but
because the universe doesn't understand the difference between
sure.
Right and wrong.
Sure. Despite that, a woman conscious enough will understand that no matter how far you bend reality, intention is key, and the intention will determine whether the action is good or bad, or whether you're activating karmic debts.
The response.
Yeah, right? So personally, I consider that, right, in everything that I do. And I'm aware of how far I can push things, how far I can bend reality, but I do consider how it affects the whole, and particularly the karmic response that I'll be activating. But you find, of course, people, women, who push the limits for various reasons, and it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, the divine feminine, it's a powerful force.
Sure.
Not in terms of, resource, but in terms of energy on its own.
Of course.
When it walks in a room, it doesn't need to utter a word.
100%.
But its presence, it's felt.
Yeah.
Now that's a spirit of attraction. That's
You may say.
Now let's jump into the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
That divine feminine energy requires balance, mutuality. How does it recognize that? Like, for example, I'm a very masculine person. Like, I'm a very masculine man. It's not an assumption. When you walk in a room, do you have to see or to feel it in order for you to build alliance into becoming? And into becoming, I'm talking about to procreation, physically, into procreation in terms of spirit-wise, nurturing, in procreation in terms of mental-wise, teachings, in procreation in terms of healing. How do you recognize that, and how do you respond to?
How do you recognize that as a divine feminine on the counter or the opposite?
Yeah, isn't there? Don't you feel some sort of maybe a clash of energies, or how do you submit, naturally just submit and falls into it and allow its energy to flow?
I understand. So you've mentioned when the divine feminine energy or woman embodied or grounded in a divine feminine, when she walks in a room, it is felt, right? She doesn't have to do anything. by just being present, the energy shifts, right? She influences the energy of the room silently, right? Now, like energy attracts, right? So, should there be now a masculine energy that aligns with such an energy? Before getting there, she attracts a lot of energy, because she's done the work, she's operating, you'd say, from her higher self type of thing. Even those who need healing or who thirst for the energy that she has,
consciously and unconsciously,
they are drawn to her. Everybody's drawn to her, right? And that's where now the discerning part comes in. She is very discerning. She needs to be very discerning to be able to discern which is my equal, in a sense, which are the patients, and so on. I'm going to talk from a healer's perspective, because most instances, these women are healers in one way or the other, right? Now, if the discerning part doesn't kick in, you end up now engaging with your patients in a way that you have no business doing. But back to recognizing the masculine, like energies attract, they will recognize each other, right? And how they engage with each other will be determined on the level of subscription on their masculinity and femininity. The masculine does not need to assert itself that I'm masculine. They don't even need to do that. It's carried, it's embodied, it's felt. It doesn't
have to say a word.
No, right? The feminine likewise. And when they recognize that in each other, things just fall into place. It's like now left, right, yin and yang type of thing. The black part of the yin does not need to negotiate with the white part, which one comes when, and so on. Generic things fall into place. But because of the world we live in now, there's those elements of influence that has come into place. There's those elements of influence that has come into play, or things that we have learned that we need to unlearn, that as well as a woman working on yourself, working towards the divine feminine energy or embodying it, you have to unlearn certain things, right? So I think you want me to get to a place where we talk about now the dynamics of the relation, right?
Yeah, I think if I have to simplify this question and make it more personal, would be, how do you pick a man? You.
No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. But
do you pick one or you get picked?
It's a
in your preference.
It's an alignment type of thing. It's not a matter of picking like you're picking apples from a bunch. It's what resonates. What really resonates. How it happens depends.
All right. I wanted us to talk about family. You mentioned back then, you made an analogy about raising a family. And what is family to you? Yeah.
Okay. So family is an extension of oneself, right? Let's now focus on a family that you create for yourself, right? It's an extension of yourself. It's you multiplying yourself. It's home. It's love. It's just the divine representing itself in a contained space, or even in community, because family also goes beyond the household. It's a community, it's communal type of thing. So for me, if I had to really put it in a concise way, it's an extension of who you are, yourself.
I'm asking this question because of our current state of things as Black people.
Yeah.
Abantu bakwantu.
Yeah.
You know, I'd speak for my people.
Yeah.
I've never been in a position to speak for what I do not understand. I speak for where I come from. We have reduced family into households.
Mm-hmm.
And the danger with that is that we kind of isolate ourselves. I'll use the word relatives in this case, in this instance, not as, you know, but just as a word to explain easier to articulate easier what I'm trying to say. Now we use the word family to isolate ourselves from relatives. And when you isolate yourself, relatives we use the word relatives to isolate ourselves from the community.
Yeah.
As well. Now, because of these family, and we are always talking about the family structure, and we don't understand the family structure is not necessarily your the woman you procreated with or the man you procreated with, or for some of us, for women you procreate with. It's actually the entire circumference of the community. That whichever that I do affects my community. And as a role player, as a healer, maybe as a mother, you're not only limited to mothering your kids. I mean, I remember when we grew up, because I was raised by a grandmother. I had that opportunity when I was young. All of us in our little kids in the community, we used to roll in a gang, like as you know. And when it's lunchtime, we go to one of us houses, we all eat together. When we finish, we go to another one's house, we eat together until we finish. And we grew up as brothers and sisters. It was very difficult for us to even think he's not a being and whatnot. But as time went on, that whole family, myopic family understanding of things started separating things. Now you find yourself caught in this little thing in your house where you can't breathe.
Yeah.
You know, where now that energy is choking you, it's choking your children, it's choking everybody that's in there, because it's closed in and it's not serving its communal purpose. How do you think we break that chain? How do you think we go back to family and become family again? Because we have a lot of problems right now that we didn't have back then, and the only reason why we didn't have these problems back then because we were a family.
Yeah.
You know, the level of dialogue didn't have to be in a way that is today, where there's a lot of I, you, or mine, yours. We were we.
Sure. So I think by now we already know that the nuclear family, just us, it's a Western thing. It has nothing to do with us.
For us.
It has nothing to do with us, and we've subscribed to it for too long that we are now at a point where we realize that it's definitely not working. So for me, it's, I believe, or the way I see it, on how to break away from that is to start re-educating re-educating the women particularly, because they are the family carriers. They're the ones that carry and build the family in a sense. So re-educating women in the community, making it a communal effort, coming back to the community in essence. So one of the ways that I know modern age women who are subscribing or remembering rather the Asian way or the traditional ways are trying to come back is through women's circles. Women are meeting now in their own spaces, reminding themselves, helping each other to heal. They're making these processes as a communal thing, but it's more coming from them doing it in silos, as women only for now, which I think is still an African way, because even back then there were so yeah, it's happening slowly. It's being cooked in those corners, and once women, a lot of us get it, once we really get the essence of it, once a lot of us remember, I think we can then be in a position to teach our families, because we are the first teachers of the home, It's just a matter of unlearning, again, and it starts with the women the most. The men are out there doing their thing, working, bringing home the bacon. The women are, in traditional sense, are nurturing at home. Yeah, the modern woman is working, but the role is still the same. They have the first responsibility to teach and guide the family and design the dynamics of the family. So once the woman gets it, then it can have a ripple effect. It can, ripple out into the entire community. So I think that's where we can start. It's happening slowly, gently. There is hope, in my opinion. For me, those are one of the things that I remind other women that I engage with in these women's circles. So I'm actively, contributing towards the return.
All right. Not to oppose what you're saying, sure, but just to bring a little bit of meat into that context. Modern day opportunities in careerism, isn't it like working against the family structure as it is? And I'm asking this because of the time and era we are in, where women wants to have careers and wants to put careers before family, and which is something that men have now tend to do as well, where we pick careers over responsibility, over maybe purpose, family, and we end up having to detach ourselves from our homes in the name of, I have a career, I need to flourish, I need to shine, I need to fulfill my purpose. How is our purpose connected to something that detaches us from our actual, purpose, which I believe that we are here to solidify that area of things?
Okay, so like I said, the Western did a number on us, right? So current society has a view on life, on how things are in today's times. And the main thing that needs to happen is unlearning. But now, when we're talking about purpose versus career, many people don't even know that they have a purpose to fulfill. People are striving to just get a meal on their table, right? To just survive till the next paycheck. That's the most reason, or one of the most main reason that pushes people to be working, build their career, and they get stuck in that loop, right? There are those who are consciously just career driven. And is their career aligned to their purpose? Maybe, maybe not, right? Because our purposes are different, right? But let's talk about those who are genuinely following careers, but careers that are not necessarily aligned to their purpose. So it's a matter of, are they aware that they are possibly derailing from where they ought to go from what they came here for, what they came here to do on earth in this incarnation, in this lifetime, right? So it's a whole matter of education. People don't know. People are just here. People are existing, right?
Yeah.
People are hustling. People are just worried about putting food on their table. That's the majority of people today. So the women who are now stuck in this loop of career, it's, in my opinion, not knowing that there's more to life than that, right? There's something greater that you need to be pursuing. Your career could be an accelerator, or it could be a pathway. It's possible that you need to go through your career so that you get to another direction where you need to go. But it's a matter of consciousness. Are you aware? Do you know? Are you trying to figure it out? Or you are just there chasing something that you don't even know what it is, but society said it's a career. And so if it's a career, what's the purpose? What's the essence? What does it mean to who you are and what you came here for? It goes back to this thing of people not knowing who they are, identifying themselves through their titles, their careers, their possessions. So now if you strip this person, if you take the career out of the dynamics, or if they lose their job, or if something happens to them and they are not able to do that or follow that career anymore, who's this person? What are they left with? They don't know. They wouldn't know.
Are we ready to have that dialogue?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I had to strip off all the titles that I thought I had, strip off all the material belongings that I thought, I have, that I valued, and I was only left with myself to face, right? And that is a very scary place to be in, right? But should you find yourself in that space, like me finding myself in that space, I had no other reason but to face myself and discover who this woman is outside all this noise, all these other things. And that's the beginning of now life for me. That's when life started for me, So it's a very important place to be in, and many are not ready to be there. And many are hanging on to these careers, to these titles, both masculine and feminine, right? So it needs a whole revolution. It needs a whole mass re-education. It needs a whole cosmic energetical shift. It's happening because many people are remembering. Many people are becoming, I think you already are. There's nothing new. You just remember. We forget, right? So it's not a matter of becoming, it's just remembering. And It's happening, but we still have a lot that still needs to be reminded. So back to the divine feminine, right? The call of the divine feminine is to remind, right? I personally, in my journey, one of the call of what I do is to remind. Those who remember must remind others. And even if somebody's not ready to hear now or understand, right? Once they've heard, when they are ready, it's like you've planted a seed, right? When they're ready, they'll remember that, I've seen this summer, this was said to me. It's like a seed that,
it's now germinate.
Of course.
Take its time to grow.
Of course. There's a great shift, in my opinion. But those who remember need to actively work on reminding.
In closing,
already?
I'm saying this because I want to start another topic, but I'm realizing we're almost an hour in.
Okay.
Now this is a setup to you actually for the next sitting, because we are going to discuss more of healing,
sure,
more of like a rite of passage into healing,
sure,
the details in there, because sometimes we speak about healing as if it's something that you just wake up in the morning and decide, oh, now I want to heal, and then but there are processes, there are details. It's a painful process,
sure,
which chips away on your ego, chips away on everything you thought you knew and everything you thought you were.
Yeah.
Having to let go of all of that.
Yeah.
The doctor, or the whatever titles and the social status and the dream that you've curated from a young age, and you were almost in there, or maybe you were in there, and then you wake up one day and you have to let it go. Yeah. You have to become a new person. It's painful, the process of healing.
Yeah.
So I think next time we'll dive into that, where we go into details, and when you have to go for your first initiation, whether it could be anyway. So yeah. Wrap it up. Before you do, please do not forget to subscribe. Help us grow the channel for high-level conversations like these, where we could have dialogues and bring our people closer. Over to you.
Okay, I'd like to wrap it up with a poem.
Let me see if I can still snap. Oh, yeah.
System will allow me to find it quickly.
Take your time.
So in relations to just the last few discussion or subject that we talked about, in relations to the divine feminine call to remind others, particularly the women, the sisters, the responsibility lies heavy on us to remember, to unlearn, and to remind others. So I have a poem here that I'd love to share. It's called Fetch Your Sisters. Sacred woman, go and fetch the sleeping goddess from the pit of the darkness where they dwell in the midst of the shadow of death. Quench them with a drop of your light and let them see better. Dance your dance of spirit around them. Let the memory of the sacred dance of the divine feminine spirit be activated within them. Enchant them, capture them, and bring them back home to self. Sacred woman, go and fetch your sisters. This is a divine calling for all women, those who remember, those who are conscious, those who know to actively do their part. Thank you.
Amaku, thank you very much.
Ashe.
Till we see each other again next time.